I'm this is not even on the like questionnaire, but like I'm curious to know what you guys think. Do you think that God has one specific person for you?
No. I mean, I feel like there's a loaded question when it comes to that because
I answer very no.
I think the answer is no, but like of course, I mean, how you like God knows everything, so He knows who you're gonna end up with,
right?
When we that's what I'm saying. When we think like, okay, the next person I meet is going to be my soulmate, or I'm looking for my soulmate, like that's where like no, don't do that because like
I think yes, but let me explain why. Yes, because once you really understand yourself and your flaws, mainly your flaws, you can understand your flaws reflect on your standards, and your standards reflect on the person that you're going to end up with. So
your boundaries.
That's
part of learn, and
you
learn that as you date.
That
you learn like okay,
date.
Going forward, this is a boundary. I'm gonna make sure
that if this person crosses that, that's not my person.
I'm not going to allow that.
If you have those boundaries and those areas where, okay, they meet all the standards, yes, that person does fall in line with the person
you
that
learn.
I want to.
You learn your A, B, and C.
Yeah.
You learn your steps.
So I have
I think no. You know, I actually, and I'm married. I think that you are the person for me. I do think you're the person for me. I think that God brought us together. However, I guess what sometimes I think about is like, what if you passed away? You know, what if I passed away and you happen to find, or I happen to find another person? Mm-hmm. Which one was meant for me? Mm-hmm. Was it you? Was it that person? And if you guys were walking next to each other, which one was the one for me? And so I don't think that there's a soulmate.
Right.
I think that you make a choice, and you have to have self-awareness about how you choose to grow with that person. And I think that God, there's grace in that. I think that there's love and mercy and growth in that. And so I think that, I mean, I hope we never die, you know, but like, I do think that you are the person for me, because the way God opened doors, the way that you humble me and make me grow, the way you challenge me, I think that is by God. But like, if I passed away, like, and God sent you someone, like, I don't think that you should approach that as like, Kez was the only one for me. You know, I do think that you should approach that situation as like, this is a person that came into my life, and I can grow with this person. I can fulfill God's purpose in my life with this person. And that's why I see it in that.
Yeah, and I think like the idea of like a soulmate and looking for your soulmate, people also can use that as an escape. Like they'll just also say like, oh no, you weren't my soulmate, so I'm moving on to the next. Instead of fighting and not fighting, but like instead of working it out. Yeah.
And I think it's a very overused word nowadays. It's just my soulmate for everything, for friends, for your pets, for.
Because imagine you met your soulmate when you were 15, like your standards and your ideas at 15 years old are going to be completely different of the person you are at 25. Imagine you still had that same soulmate that you did at 15. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you were still into the same type of person. You're not the same person. So how do you expect? Yeah,
so then that poses a different question that it's not here. Then does that mean that someone that has never dated has no clue about what he or she doesn't like, or her boundaries or his boundaries?
Dated or had relationships? There's a difference.
Relationships. Let's say relationships.
Had no relationships?
Yes.
If one person, let me ask you this.
I feel like that would be kind of hard to deal with.
What do you mean by relationships? Do you mean friendships, or you're talking about?
Because you could be talking to someone, and I would consider that a relationship, because let's say you grow.
Right? You mean like dating?
Well, I don't know. Now I'm confused.
Okay, so like, let's say,
what's the difference between dating and talking to someone?
So the way I see talking to someone is, you meet someone, you're interested in them, you're
trying to decide whether
you're trying to decide if you want to move forward. Dating is actually that next step to it.
Right. Okay.
Where you've shared feelings.
Yeah. So if you already have feelings for them, and you haven't started dating them, you technically are in a relationship with them if you're talking to them.
Because there's people that are afraid to get to that state.
Yeah.
You know.
Right.
And so I think that was your question. Like, if a person has never dated.
Well, the thing is, for example, I've never dated. And I don't think I think I've experienced that
relationship?
or talk.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Talk-
that
they-
Yeah,
talking
you're
thing.
interested in
Yeah.
someone and
I
you're trying to
think
figure
once. I
Okay.
think once.
out. Okay.
So for me, as I hear you guys talk about like,
you say
well,
that you learned from
your
it, though?
relationships, yes, I can say that, but here's the thing. Now it's making me wonder. Then does that mean I don't have boundaries?
No.
Like,
No.
does that mean I'll have a hard time finding not the right one? Because you attract what you are. But I guess what I'm having a hard time thinking is, then where does that leave me, or where does that leave someone like me that has never dated?
One step forward.
When you are dating someone, you're gonna realize things about yourself that you never knew before. That's gonna happen.
I guess the question is like, how do I know that I'm making the right choice if I don't have a reference?
Right. Yes. Thank you very much. Yes. How do
Well,
I
what
know?
I'm saying is that you're never gonna know until you put yourself in that situation. Like, you're never gonna know how much you can lift if you never try to lift.
Right.
Kind of
Yes.
thing.
Here, how about the way he's kind of describing it, but in a different way? Did you have feelings for this person that you had a relationship with,
Yes. I wouldn't say a relationship. That's the thing.
or like a friendship with?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes. Okay. So obviously it didn't work out because you're not dating them,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Yeah.
So, but you said that you learned from it.
Yes.
So did you feel like because of that, I know now this person can't act this way, be this way, or if they're not doing this, they're no longer falling into that category? Like, if let's say they didn't want to date,
Yeah.
but we were still friends, would you say that you learned all that stuff from them?
Yeah. I think I learned. Yes, definitely. I think I learned from that situation. I think what it is because it never got to anything. Like, we weren't even dating.
Yeah.
I wouldn't per se say, "Oh, I got to know a lot of me." Like I
Right.
got to know a lot of what I'm. Like he said,
But
once you start
did
dating
because
someone,
you felt that, like,
Somewhat, but like you.
not like
You
it wasn't
didn't
like a
go-
commitment, like a
you di-
full on, like,
Yeah, it wasn't a
hurt,
commitment. It wasn't
but
a
you still felt pain, right?
yes,
So
yes.
you did learn something.
Yes,
not a
of
lot,
course,
but
yes.
something.
Of course.
you took that
then
step.
exactly. Then that poses the other question. Then does that mean I need to go through several men?
No.
No, right?
No.
Your next step could
No.
be the one that you end up
Yeah.
and you die with.
He's out there.
I mean,
Is that
yeah,
fair?
but
You-
what I'm saying is, you can't go into that expecting like I know everything.
Yeah.
Like, I know everything.
No,
about
yeah,
myself.
definitely.
Like, you are going to learn,
Which is
a lot about yourself.
which is one of my fears.
which is the reason for a relationship.
which is one of my fears, to go into in a relationship, and because I have no experience, to just take it at face value. To just be like,
Yeah.
this is how
This is
a
the one.
relationship.
You're not going to
should
have all
be.
the answers, and
Yeah.
you're going to have those. It's going to be a challenge, but it's a good one because you're learning about yourself. You're learning about
The other
another
person.
and you guys are both building something.
At the same time, I think that that's also like where that question comes from is like our generation, because like back in the days, like if we went in the 50s, like a lot of people dated the first person that they met, like and
Married.
married, and sometimes they didn't even have a long time to get to know each other. It's like I knew her for a week. I don't know why we go southern.
So
and she was the one for me, and I married her, or I knew him for 3 months and he asked me to marry him and I did, and we've been together for 50 years.
Huh.
I think back then there was a bigger focus on like when you meet someone, you stick it through the hard times
Right.
and you work it out. Versus
Right.
now, people just take the easy out and they're like, I don't like you
Right.
after all.
Yeah,
And so
like their
because of
examples were
that-
different too. Their examples were you're married, you stay married, and then you die.
Yeah, married.
Versus
I mean, it's
now
no
it's
secret
like
to why the divorce rate is
Yeah.
higher than ever. I mean, that's
that's
to
where
that.
I'm getting at. I think that because there is that huge like statistic in our generation, and it's very common to see people like, oh, I've dated this
Take the
many
easy out.
people. I think that there's that now the new insecurity in our generation of like, then I am supposed to have multiple like partners, or I'm supposed to have multiple guys that I
Experiences,
date,
yeah.
experiences, because then how do I know this is really going to work? Because we're already kind of going in thinking then if it doesn't work, then am I supposed to get out? And I think that that's a lot of it, and where we believe in, that's where faith comes in. That's where trusting in God comes in. That's where self-awareness comes in, that you're not going to go in blindly. You're not going to be like, whatever he is. But I think that that's part of our generation.
Because to be honest, I don't want to have experiences. I really want to meet that first one and marry that first one.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to get hurt, or because you don't want to, like why? I mean, obviously you don't want to. You don't want to
obviously
date
no one
someone
wants
and
to
then be
get
like,
hurt.
okay, yeah, I
You
think
know,
that's what it is, right? Like, you
obviously, I don't want to get hurt, but I don't think that's the
full reason.
the
Like, yeah, like,
reason.
you don't want to waste
I
your
think-
time either.
Exactly. Well, I'm
Yeah.
28. Yes, I really
Yeah.
don't want to waste my time. But I think more than anything, I think I don't. This is gonna sound horrible, but
Do you not want to say it?
I don't think it's a good strategy to taste here, taste there, and taste there, and taste there, and taste it.
When it comes
Like,
to dating, I agree.
I don't think that's. I don't. I think that is setting you up in marriage for failure, because it's teaching
Right.
you that when you don't like something, you drop it. When you don't like something, hey, I'm out. And I don't think that's a good. It's conducive. I think it is conducive to divorce later on.
True, but you
So-
also can't win the lottery if you never play.
Yeah,
Right.
that's true.
I would agree. I would agree.
'Cause-
Which is why I'm hoping that when I land that guy, he sticks around.
He's
But-
the winning
but-
ticket.
think about it like this. You might have had like maybe this semi one relationship. That other person has to go through like 3 relationships just to get to the point where he meets you and to become the man he needs to be to fit your standards. Not
Yeah.
saying that your standards are higher or anything, just the
I
quality.
just want him to know how to read. That's it.
No, but the quality person that he needs to be,
Mm-hmm.
he's going through a breakup right now. And
Yeah.
in 6 months, 2 years, I don't know, something,
Right.
And look,
yeah.
I'm
he
not-
pops up
I-
and
I'm not
he
saying-
learned from that.
I'm not saying it's a strategy where you date multiple people and then I'm not saying that's a strat. What I'm saying is when you get into a relationship, like approach it as if this is going to be the one. But I mean, don't just like sell yourself out, like for
Yeah.
that one person. Like obviously there's steps that you have to go through. But what I'm saying is when you date someone, the point is to learn about yourself. It's not necessarily to like
But I already know myself.
I get-
want
I
to
get
know
what
the
you're
other
trying to say.
person.
Trying to word it.
Do you?
I get what you're trying to say. You're pretty much saying like it's kind of hard because it's like a balancing act. You don't want to throw yourself out there, but you also don't want to. Okay, this one's gonna be it, and then it doesn't work out, and then
Doesn't
you're
work
like,
But I
game
feel
over.
different. I
Like-
feel like if you don't throw yourself out there,
I agree.
how are you supposed to like?
No,
No,
what you're
I
supposed
what I
to
meant-
do
myself
is
out
what I
there,
meant
and
by
I
throw-
caught one.
what I meant by throw
No.
yourself out is skip A, B, and C and just get to D. That's what I
okay,
meant.
Yeah.
no.
of course not.
That's what
Yeah.
I'm.
But
That's what I'm saying.
okay.
But do not be afraid to love.
Yes,
Yeah.
There
I
you
Do
agree.
go.
not be
That's
afraid
the-
to love.
yeah.
When you go into a relationship, do not be afraid to love, and do not be afraid to get hurt.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
So like
'Cause
if someone pops up, get to know them. I'm not saying date them, but get to know them. Okay, they're not the right person for me. I mean, in reality,
You've
they're
learned
going
why.
Yeah,
You've learned why.
They're going one direction. You're going a different direction. You have different values. It is what it is. Next one.
That's okay.
That's okay. Versus, yeah, we dated, we hooked up, and then we broke up. Now you kind of devalued yourself and you overstepped that like meeting them, and you went in further to how you were
I would
saying
say
D and Z
that's
or whatever.
also okay only because you've now learned like okay, and this didn't work out, but in my next relationship I will now understand like this boundary needs to be drawn and I can't just cross that.
I think that works
You know what I
when
mean?
you're. I mean, in my opinion, I think that works when you're growing up.
You're
and,
growing up.
and actually ties in with this question, which I don't know if you want to read it.
Yes. Dating in a Christian setting. Do you believe in today's age it is possible for a woman or a man to abstain from having any kind of sexual experiences?
I personally think it's not. I think it's very hard for people.
What do you
in
count as
today's
experience? Like
anything from
Just
on
even
your
seeing
own
it?
to seeing it to with someone. I think it's really hard nowadays to have
everywhere.
not had some kind of experience, and so because of that, like I do think that if people went through something in their past is one thing, but yeah, obviously when you're in a place where you're ready for marriage, I don't think you should go in with like it's okay if I fall into this, because like you already learned from your previous experiences, if that makes sense.
I don't know.
Do you think it's possible for someone to not have a single
Oh, not have a single.
A single?
And by experience, you also
this is
mean,
obviously
like-
not a children's channel, so we're obviously talking about
But-
pleasure, porn. We're talking about all of that.
But by experience, you're talking about even just seeing something scrolling on Instagram.
No.
Yeah,
No.
I think
Not
the answer
unless-
is no
not unless
because of the
they're
internet.
Mormon.
Because of the internet.
But even then,
But
Unless they live under a rock.
Yeah.
it's possible for a man and a woman to abstain themselves from actual
From each other, like,
from,
yeah.
Intercourse
No,
with
no,
a
no,
man
from-
or a woman.
from actual from
Yeah, yeah.
sex.
But you
from
still
sex.
have probably a experience on your own. Do you think that's possible to abstain today in this
No.
generation?
No,
I don't
No,
think it
it's-
is in
it's
that.
hard.
I do. I think it's a-
It'd be difficult. I think there's cases, but
I think it's a consequence of the
yeah.
internet, though, of like today's
consequence
day
of
and
the
age.
flesh.
And not even to say that they took part in anything, but the simple fact that they were exposed to something.
I ask this because there was a time where, back in the day, again, it's like there was such a big thing to be like, I'm not going to be with this person because I'm aware that they're not a virgin,
Oh.
And so, like, obviously nowadays, it's like, do you even think that that's even a case anymore?
I think that
You think it's you're asking if that's an appropriate standard to have anymore, like a realistic standard? Is that
Sure,
what your question is?
I'll ask that as well.
no, those are two different questions. Realistic and proper, it's two different questions. Is it realistic? No, maybe no. Should it be proper? That's a different question.
That's what you're saying.
Depends on
Proper,
the
yes.
person.
Realistic, no.
Yes.
Or the odds are very
I mean,
unicorn-like.
to be honest, you guys are because this is Christian dating, so
Yeah.
that I get what you're saying. there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because obviously, if we're talking in the world, automatically, it's like, dude,
People
how
don't
is that
care.
not even a part of it? Like, that's an automatic thing.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to be intimate. Maybe not the first week, but we're definitely going to get there. But
Mm-hmm.
when we do talk about a Christian setting, it's like it tends to be on automatic.
And I would
pilot.
dare say this. I think in right now in society, there is this mindset that's coming in that men are starting to care about body count for women. There's or
I've
maybe
heard
they
that.
never
It is.
stopped caring, but now they're voicing it more. And because I mean, you're on YouTube or Instagram, and I'm bombarded with clips of
You
men
can't
saying,
wife a hoe.
yeah, pretty
I've
much,
seen that.
and okay,
Well, I think it's a double standard. Like
It is.
It's
but
a double standard.
It's now becoming more like what you say. I see podcasts like that, or people like just a clip, a short of someone, and it's like these guys are just like, yeah, like I might date you, I might hook up with you, but I ain't gonna marry you.
Yeah,
And it's
exactly.
like, oh, okay.
And so I think we it's an ingrained thing. Men don't want women that have been around. They are not gonna wife them. And so
oh, like there's a devalue is what you're saying.
yes,
Devaluing.
and that's even in society, not just in Christian. It gets worse. But
And we're not talking about someone who's had a past. We're talking about someone who's actively still living a certain lifestyle. Like
Oh.
I don't really care,
Yeah.
Like obviously I don't think there are men that are like, oh, if she had an experience with someone when she was younger or even like a couple years ago,
Yeah.
I'm going to walk away from that.
Yeah.
I'm talking about like these Instagram models. I'm talking about these women who are like clearly portraying themselves in a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we've seen, that like men are like, no, I wouldn't wife that, you
Right.
know?
I'm
you
not going
agree
to say I disagree.
Yeah, I'd probably say like a lot of guys are probably more concerned about that because in reality they think, well, if she devalued herself like that, it's harder to take them more serious. Where it's like if
Yeah, I mean, to some
if
people,
you made it so easy for someone else,
exactly. That's what it
it's
is.
no longer a challenge.
What-
It's
what
no,
about
more,
on
it's no
the-
longer the chase.
What
There-
about on the flip side?
Oh, that's what
Oh,
I'm saying.
yeah, it's probably-
it's a
it's a
double
double standard,
standard.
yeah.
That's existed
But
since.
do you
Yeah.
think do you
I don't
think
think it's
that
okay.
men think that women having multiple partners is very different than a man having multiple partners?
That's what I'm saying. That's the
Yeah,
double
it's
standard.
double
that,
standard.
But I
No,
do,
but
I
like,
do
I
think
think
it's different.
why?
I do
Like,
think it's
why?
different. I do. Okay, this is gonna sound sexist and machista, but I do believe that yes, it might be a double standard to the world, but I think those are the roles we need.
That's the cards that we were dealt
No,
with. Is what you're saying?
that's our nature. That's our nature. I think men are created to be hunters. They're created
I see what you're
to
Yeah.
to
The
pass
traits. The hunters
to
and
pass
the
on
traits.
their genes, to pass on their genes and make sure they're passing on their
Reproducing,
genes. You know, and us women were created to make sure that your resources are very very well held on, because you don't want to share those resources. You don't want to, you want to make sure you are the one, your offspring is receiving those resources. So I do think that it's very different when women have multiple partners and when men have had multiple partners. I think for a woman, because most of the time we run the risk of pregnancy, we should be more careful. If it's on us to carry a child, it should be on us to not have, it's not easy to engage in that.
And you
in
can
this,
also
right?
see it as like
Or it shouldn't be easy, I guess.
kind of for men, like territorial wise. I mean, it's kind of like this is mine versus like, oh, how many other people have had this
Yeah.
type of deal
For free, yeah.
for free.
Well, that's what it is, like for free. Yeah. That's what I was gonna say. Like there are some girls there are some people, not just girls, but there are people that are free, and like that they may not see it in themselves, but to some people, like that's a devalue, or that's a reason to not want to take that person serious, I guess.
Yeah.
And
But-
I don't exactly understand the point of the question.
Yeah,
as
the
far
question's
as,
kind of
like,
hard to answer because
because I agree that
Yeah.
the double standard exists. I agree that there's like a natural nature to it. But
I think the
don't
question
know.
is more of like, in a Christian setting, do you think that it's possible to remain pure? And what does that even mean nowadays? Because like, is it possible to stay pure in a marriage or in a relationship rather? Because
Yeah, celibate.
I've heard that, like,
I think they're definitely
to be
There's you-
celibate.
it's
There's-
100% possible.
there's unicorns out there.
I think it's 100%. Like there's definitely. Like,
It's possible. It's just you also need to isolate yourself from a lot of influences.
No, I just think you need to have strong boundaries though.
I would agree a little bit more with you, because I would say that it all comes down to how much you value yourself.
Yeah.
And,
exactly.
for example, you can think of engaging in a sexual act, but when it comes down to actually engaging in one, at least as a woman, you need to think, well, and as a Christian woman, I'm the temple of God. I'm not going to defile myself with just anyone.
Right.
I need to make sure that you are set. And how do I make sure of that? Marriage, right? So for
Gotta lock
me,
it down.
yeah, for me, I would like to think, remaining yourself pure comes with the reward of having a husband that appreciates that from you.
Yeah.
So and that would say, I think that would be great for women to learn that, you were created for a purpose, and that purpose should have been within marriage. Yes, of course, we make mistakes. Things happen, even in a Christian world. Things happen, and I don't think you should be held accountable for the rest of your life if that were to get around.
Right.
And I don't think people should say like, oh, she's not a virgin and I'm not going to marry her. No. But do I think we need to give girls, and I'm saying women because I'm a woman, do I think we need to start teaching girls that they're the temple, that they're a temple, that they should
that
care for
there's
themselves,
value in
that there's value in keeping yourself pure? Yes, I do. And
I do think so as well. I just also think the
it's not
the
realistic.
ones that
Yeah,
the ones
no,
that
I
do,
agree.
the ones that don't shouldn't be treated like they're for the streets.
Right. Yeah, I agree. But you know
Because they
what?
can be saved.
But you know what? It's very interesting because I feel like maybe not so much in church, because I think in church we do that, where it's like, oh, she's used goods, and whatever, and we're judgmental about it. But I think in the world, the world has done such a good job at portraying these women as like, oh my God, feminist, and they're so free and liberation,
Empowered.
and I'm empowered because I get to choose who I sleep with, and blah 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 blah. But I in the world, they're doing the opposite. When you are a virgin, you are a virgin because of really good values, not because no one has ever made any any advances, but because you chose to remain a virgin, they flip that on you. They're like, oh my God, you? How old are you? Why? You know, and so I you know, you're gonna have the extremes. We talked about it last episode. You're going to have the extremes, and I don't think for certain things there's a middle ground. I think you either stick it
Until you can.
until you can, you know. And
I just think like if you're gonna do that, you shouldn't be embarrassed. Like I mean, choosing to remain pure. Like
yeah, no,
if you're gonna do that, then you should not be afraid, because if now when those questions do pop up, and now you're embarrassed because of the choice you made, okay, well, you need to have a little more strength and a little more understanding
Right.
of what it is, the
Right.
choice that you're making. And
yeah,
I don't know how to think about that.
be proud about it, because in this time and age, it's,
Because
it's
if you
difficult.
live by what other people think about you, you're never gonna win.
Yeah.
So
To segue into the next question, do we believe in marriage, and not just the legal institution, but what the Bible says about marriage?
Yes, I do.
Clearly.
Like, well,
Wow.
I know,
I don't know.
I'm over here. No, I don't believe in it.
It's been a show
mean-
until now.
To go further, is it also taking this one into consideration?
Yeah, which is divorce an option? Do we
I-
believe divorcing is an option?
I think what this is talking about, yes, 100%. And is this an option? Personally, no. For other people, obviously it is, because
Yeah.
It's so high.
It's getting so bad
Yeah.
now that people don't want to, people just think they can just exit anything, right? But
I would agree that there are cases
When
where
things are
divorce is
bad.
obviously an
Yeah,
option,
when
you know,
things are
abuse
toxic.
and rape and
Of
things like
course.
that. Of course, I'm talking about we just don't want to work through this anymore, or very famously, we fell out of love.
yeah, see, that's
You know, and that to me is like, no, like you can't just stop being in a marriage because your
Right.
feelings for this person change. You're constantly changing with this person, and
Mhm.
like we've only been
Yeah.
married for 2 years, but like to me, it's like those butterflies aren't there, you
Mhm.
know. And it's not that like I see Joel and I'm like I don't feel anything for him. It's just
Right.
it's so different. Like what before was like, oh my God, he held my hand, or like
Mhm.
it was a kiss, and you're just like thinking about that all night, electrifying, you know, or whatever. It's like now it's just like, this is the person that I love. This is nothing compares to that. And so yeah, for that I would say like situations like that where if you fall out of love, I don't
Yeah, I
I
mean,
don't
it's
agree.
it's one thing for me to talk, since obviously I'm not married, but I
you
do
believe.
But 100%, I 100% do believe in that, and 100% believe that the point is to grow with your partner, not to just for them to be the same person forever, and that you're going to be the same person forever, and that nothing's ever going to go wrong, and that everything's going to be the same, and everything's going to be good. Like, no, like there's definitely, like that's the point, that you find out more about yourself, that you encourage them to find out more about themselves, and that you build something together. And like divorce should not be an option. Obviously there are circumstances, but no, the point is like it's a challenge, and it's the biggest challenge of life, and some
Yep.
people don't see that
Next to children.
Yeah.
Yeah, next to children.
I'd probably say yes, obviously. Even though a lot of people don't see it that way, but I like is marriage an option? Because a lot of people, they see like I have a baby mama and we're together and we live together, but I'm not married to her because I don't really want to commit that way because of the fact that if
Yeah,
we ever
nowadays-
separate, she's taking half, or I have to.
Yeah, nowadays
So
it's
there's that
become,
fear.
nowadays like the people, they're supporting the idea of never getting married for like that kind of reason, because of when it goes bad, like now you're tied to a person, like that's already thinking with 1 foot out.
Yeah, 1 foot out. But I would
And
say
that's not even like a biblical thing or anything. And to me, it's like this is all just
you're already expecting it to
Life.
fail.
But do you
Type
think
of
that
thing.
we think this way because we're Christian?
No, because
it's hard to say because we were all born and raised
Well, yeah,
like that.
but still, if you
no.
think about it, no, because in reality, a man is only worth what his word is, and
Yeah.
taking that oath and using that word really defines you as a man. So if you
100%.
decide to do this one, divorce, you're already going against your own word. So you're losing that value as a man, as
Yeah.
your value from your own worth.
But what he just
And let
said
me
right
just point
now
out-
is a reason why, like, I don't have butterflies, but that's as good as it.
And let me
you know?
just point out, Kes fell in love all over again.
I did. I was
She was
like,
But it's 100%.
And it's
true.
cheaper
I
to keep her.
It's cheaper.
yeah. I always tell Joel, I was just like, look, this is only gonna go in 3 ways. Right?
Oh yeah,
You know?
she does this to me all the time, and I'm
Right.
like, I know what's gonna come.
I was just like, we're gonna die together, or you'll pass away, or I'll pass away, or I'll kill you. Like there's no divorce. Like
Yeah.
if you like cross me, that's your
And
only
see,
way out.
like, if that is the understanding in a marriage or in a relationship where, like, I'm not leaving, like, that's not
An
not
option.
an option. That's not a doorway.
I just
Like,
keep thinking-
so we're gonna have to work this out. Even if you hate me, we're gonna have to work this out. Like, we're gonna have to figure it out to where we get back to where
Right.
things are good, and that's the beauty of like an actual marriage. Because if divorce isn't out, it's not a marriage.
I like that quote.
It's a partnership or a
Yeah.
Yeah.
business.
a
Like,
partnership.
I like the quote that we used to have where success is going from failure to failure without the loss of enthusiasm. Marriage is in its entirety, it's going from problem to problem, solving them
Yeah.
without the loss of the enthusiasm for the other person. Because once you lose that enthusiasm, that's when divorce comes in hand as an option.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would agree.
I just feel like that's something you can't discover once you've already said I do. Like, this needs to be discovered that this is not an option
Yeah.
in your relationship when you're dating somebody.
Yeah. It's like over here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
It's like
yeah.
before we even discuss
Exactly.
chaperones, if we're going into this, how do you feel about divorce?
This is the question about commitment.
Yeah.
Are you going to be committed? If you're not going to be committed, then that's A.
Exactly.
Period. Move on.
So as we're getting close to, closing this podcast, do you guys have any final thoughts, comments?
No, I think that was a good one.
Yeah, I think it
That
was.
was pretty.
Alrighty, guys. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Hear Me Out. We'll catch you guys next time.
Bye.